Beware of the Ides of March. That's what that great fortune teller said. And little did I know what that would mean in a medical meaning years and years and years and years and years, centuries later. In fact, it is match season. Twitter blows up every year with people who matched, who didn't match. And if you are in that category or having any issue with your career right now, stay tuned because this episode is just for you.
Welcome to the Licensed to Live show, where professionals, doctors, champions, VIPs, attorneys, and those in public office discover strategies that help you restart and gain what is lost when you find yourself accused. If another has doubted your integrity, questioned your credentials, or caused your actions to come under scrutiny, you are in the right place. On the other hand, if you have never felt the knot in the pit of your stomach when legal papers are served, the heartbreak of disappointing your family when the lock clicks shut on handcuffs, or had to appear before a board of review, then be aware, the longer you serve, the more likely you are to find yourself under the microscope of those who judge. Prepare yourself for this uncomfortable possibility. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jarret Patton.
Welcome to this episode of Licensed to Live. My name is Dr. Jarret Patton, and I am your host for our journey together today and every day you choose to listen to this show. If you or anyone you know has been dissed in their career, please invite them to join us along this journey. Just go to anywhere you listen to podcasts and subscribe to Licensed to Live. Today, we are going to be talking about the match. And really specifically about if you didn't match, because, well, this is a step in many doctors' career paths that is necessary. And, well, you don't have complete control over it. And because of that, sometimes people get left out in the cold. In fact, every year, people are left to find their own way after the computer says, well, couldn't find you a place to work out the next 3 to 8 to however many years you were going to do additional training after medical school. So a lot of people are left wondering what to do. We're going to talk about the things that you should look for and the things that you should do just in case you didn't match. And we will get to this right after we finish thanking our sponsors. Hey, this is Dr. Jarret Patton. Do you need more positivity in your life? No matter what part of your life you want to transform, positive affirmations can help you achieve your goals. But sometimes making permanent changes can be difficult. Designed with you in mind, Licensed to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will inspire and equip you to become the best version of yourself. Licensed to Live. Daily affirmations to rebuild your life will set you on the path to changing your mindset, beliefs, speech, and ultimately your actions. You can change your life now by getting your copy at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, your finer book retails, or licensedtolive.com. That's licensedtolive.com.
Something smells good. EH3 coffee. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. Nothing better than waking up. EH3 in your cup. Premium organic. EH3 coffee. Nothing better than in the middle of your day. EH3 coffee. Premium organic. EH3 coffee.
This is Super Bowl champion Mike Logan, and you are listening to Licensed to Live.
Today's affirmation: I choose to free myself from all negativity that hampers my progress. If you missed the match, spend some time with that one because nothing can hold you back. And let's face it, for many of us, it's been a lifelong dream to become a doctor. I mean, many of us were young children, maybe elementary school, and said, hey, someday I want to become a doctor. Many of you have looked to family members. Some of you have become the first doctor. And the match is one of those things that happens shortly before graduation that says, okay, well, this is where you will be doctoring for the next section of your years. And well, that's a lot of disappointment if you don't know. And if you're trying to scramble and you're trying to interview and you're trying to find out, what am I going to do with the next part of my life? Well, the good part about missing the match is you're still going to have that degree when you graduate, and people will still call you doctor. So first of all, you will become a doctor, but this is a time where you can reevaluate and you say, okay, well, you have to really do that tough gut check and said, well, I know there's so much hierarchy in medicine. There's so much bureaucracy in medicine. And the way I've been trained in these previous 3 to 4 years in medical school is figuring out how to work in hospitals. And some of you out there really wanted to pick something very, very specific, or maybe even a career path that is very difficult to get in because, well, let's face it, there just may not be the need for a bunch of super specialists that may come out of medical school. So there's only limited slots for some of these things. So it may be a time for you to really give that gut check and reevaluate your specialty. Because, well, maybe you're going to take a side trek into family medicine or psychiatry or some other specialty that may not be as competitive and usually doesn't fill. And guess what? Think of it as an adventure, because detours in your career are supposed to happen. And not only are they supposed to happen, they're supposed to happen for your benefit. There is something much greater than residency directors and people who input into the computer and people who sit behind the curtain like the Wizard of Oz and spit out these letters that come out and say, hey, this is where you go. There's way, way more to your life. There's way more to your career. There's way more than that in medicine. But just understand that these detours in life and in your career are supposed to happen, and they do happen for your benefit. It happens to everyone. Now, I mean, let's take a look at Dr. Oz. I happen to have the privilege to speak with him at a conference a couple of years ago in Atlanta. And at that time, he was one of America's most loved doctors. He had a very successful show. He had all types of side business lines and doing all types of things. And he even went on to tell me that day, when you mix medicine and politics, you get politics. And I wrote a whole blog on that. Check it out at drjarret.com if you're interested in Dr. Oz. But flash forward a year and a half, he decides he wants to run for an open Senate position in Pennsylvania. And as a result, well, that's what mainstream media thought. First, his show, one of the biggest doctor shows out there, got canceled in cities in Pennsylvania, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, Harrisburg, and a number of others said, well, since you're now a politician, we can't run your show on the air because that would create an unfair advantage. Ultimately, that led to his show being canceled. That show, as far as I can tell, was one of the most successful shows out there for doctors. And for all that to evaporate over a decision in his career, well, that's a pretty big thing. But at the end of the day, this is where Dr. Oz wants to take his career. He wants people to be having, some sort of smear campaign against him on television. He wants to try to make things better for our country by affecting policy. And that's fantastic. But something goes wrong in everybody's career, and that's what I want you to understand. So this may seem like it's the end that you didn't match, but it's only the very beginning. I mean, 25 years ago or so, and maybe more or less, I remember the importance of that match, and I just knew whatever the paper said is where I was going to go for pediatrics. And I was fortunate enough to match, and I matched in NYU and Bellevue and had a great education, great experience, and went on to be a hospital. I work in hospitals. So for many of us, it just went through as another phase in our career. And I really didn't appreciate what kind of life-changing events could have happened to make your career just come to a dead stop, because it seemed like, a mere 15 years later, I was catapulted out of the hospital, clutching on to a picture of mine that hung on the wall of the hospital with a bunch of other important people. Yes, I had ascended to the top of the physician executive ranks. I was loving what I was doing, but hey, stuff happens. Next thing I know, I was out on my butt. And in fact, if you guys call me up for a strategy call, or you're one of my coaching clients, and when I'm at home base in Pennsylvania in the office, you see that picture right over my shoulder looking at me, because, well, that thing was ripped off the hospital wall. And it's part of my legacy. And if that didn't happen to me, I never, ever, ever would have had the courage, the strength, the perseverance needed to create a brand, create a career coach, create a media expert, create a television media personality. Forget about this podcast. All of these things that have come out, including my series of books, and all of the opportunity that has since happened has actually been for my benefit. Now, I didn't realize that when the cuffs were placed on me and they would lead me off to the county, but I quickly realized that there is a higher order going on, and these setbacks are designed to occur for your benefit. So consider all of that as you guys are stressed out about this situation. No doubt it's one of the biggest career setbacks that you've ever had, but know there is a future, and that future is bright. Well, Dr. Jarret, what should I do if I didn't match? Okay. Let's talk about the specifics. I know there are some things that you want to do and some things that you need to do in order to get through this situation. And many of you guys have been blowing up Twitter. You've been saying some big things. I've even seen some success stories. I've been seeing docs that didn't match a year ago who said, hey, I had to take a sidetrack, but hey, I've rematched again and I'm doing something great, to encourage others. So one of the things that you can do out there is heal from your trauma. Understand that, yes, this is a traumatic event. Many of you have never had anything bad happen to your life. This may be the worst thing that has ever happened in your life. And well, if that's the case, overall, you're probably pretty lucky, even though it hurts, because it's still the worst thing to happen. But you need to heal from this trauma. And part of healing from this trauma is accepting the reality of what is happening around you, but realizing that you're not the only one to go through it. There's a whole community of people who have not matched, who have gone on and had extremely successful careers, who actually use this as a pivot point to do something else great with their life. And although this singular event is tremendous in your life right now, it will be small over the entirety of your life. And there's lots of community out there. Check into your Facebook groups. I've been a part of lots of these unmatched or trying to match physician groups that are out there. There are plenty of you out there. Don't think, although you may think there was only one or two or three in your entire class that this happened to, you may be the only one it happened to in your class. Trust me, there are people all across this country who have suffered or are suffering a similar fate as you. So heal from the trauma and join a community. A lot of people have talked about their support systems, and I talk about my support systems in my License to Live story with the 3 Fs. And you've heard me say it time and time again: family, friends, and faith. And all of those things will lift you up during these times. So this is the real time to lean on your friends, get that gut check, know that people out there have your back. And if you don't have any of that, well, call somebody who will have your back. Call me up, DM me. If you're on Twitter and you're suffering, you don't know who to turn to. Hey, I have ears. I will listen, and I can understand and maybe even point you in another direction to look at this thing differently. But make sure you heal from this trauma, join a community, and really reach out for your support team. Another thing that you should really consider, and this is tough, you should realize yourself, realize who you actually are. You have plenty of gifts, talents, abilities that are unique to you that no one has, because you are a unique individual. And realizing what you can do, what your gifts are, and maybe even who you are is much more than a title. So often we go down that road of being a doctor, and you guys are almost there, that you can officially be called a doctor. You've been called student doctors for a while now, and now you're really at that point where you can be a doctor. And sometimes that doctor identity takes over every other aspect of your life. We don't talk about the husband, the wife, the mother, the father, the child, the cousin, the mentor, the teacher, all of these other things that you do in your life, and all of these identities, they become minuscule when somebody puts doctor, because, well, if you're doctor, you're somebody. Doctor gets you into doors. Doctor gets, people to listen to you. Yeah, that's true, but we can't get caught up into this doctor identity so much that we're left with just that. So look at the other things around you. Realize yourself, your entire self, what you provide, not only for yourself and your family and your friends, but to others in this world. You have a tremendous amount of gifts that you're able to share, and nobody can take that back. Yeah, and while we're talking about things to do, well, let's face it, this is the time to explore other options. Maybe you really did want to be a super duper specialist. So think about why you wanted to take that path in the first place. Is it the anatomy, the physiology, the pathology? Is it just your interest level? Or is it more of a lifestyle thing? You're like, hey, I may only have to work 3 days a week. I have weekends off and have a great lifestyle. Let's look at what are the core reasons you wanted to go into this specialty, because some things are easy to fix. And if it's, pathology, physiology, disease processes, research, well, yeah, you probably still want to be in that field, because if those are the things that drive you, you're going to want to continue to look for those things. But you still need to look for other options. If it's a lifestyle thing, well, you can create the lifestyle you want at any time, in any specialty, in any occupation. That is what I've been trying to tell people for the last several years, that yes, you can do anything that you want to do. In fact, it is your duty to do things that drive you, that make you want to be a better person, to do better things for more people. And that's not always working in a hospital or being a super specialist. There are many other things that you can do. I had recently been recognized by Forbes and invited to join the Forbes Coaches Council. And I thought that was a very big honor. And I still think that's a big honor because, well, it's an invite-only process. They look for people who are impactful in their field. And I am one of the chosen few. So with Forbes, you'll see me writing on Forbes.com and a number of other things while we get going. And then just pay attention to my social media feeds at Dr. Jarret for updates on that. But what I realized by getting this recognition is that, well, even though things don't always go right in my business, things don't always turn out as I had designed them to, I still proceed. And having endurance and longevity in a pretty difficult area. I mean, coaching is pretty competitive and quite frankly, is something I love to do. And if I didn't leave the hospital, I never knew that I had the talents and gifts to be able to serve people like that. That's why I always keep my options open. And honestly, this is why you should keep your options open. And finally, let this setback become your biggest comeback. You can let a lot of people affect your life in a lot of different ways, but you don't have to let that be the end of the story. You can actually change the story. You can write the story, and you can create this story of your own so that it's unique. It serves your purpose. It serves others, and it's for your betterment. This is where we began today. It is all for your betterment so that you are able to use your gifts, your talents as you heal from this trauma and explore other options to make this temporary setback become your biggest comeback. I'm here to support you guys. If you're suffering, if you need somebody who's been down the road a little bit further than you, just give me a call. No obligation. I'm here to talk because I understand career setbacks and I understand career comebacks. See you next time.
No matter how disheartening the moment of accusation sounds, how deep the pain of immobilization stabs, or how bleak your future looks, no one can take away your license to live. Keep Dr. Jarret's expertise handy and unlock your future. Go to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or another podcast player and subscribe right now to Licensed to Live. See you next time.